Today's fellow fasting foodie friend has been fasting on and off for over a decade. She is a fellow content creator who shares mental health-based content. Today's guest is Elyse Botha. Welcome, Elyse.
Hi, Jackie. It's so awesome to be on your podcast. It feels like a dream come true.
Oh, well, I'm so honored to have you here, and I'm really looking forward to talking with you today. I have to say, I love your name. My middle daughter, her name's Elyse, and if we go to doctor's office, appointments, anywhere where they don't know her, they call her Elyse. So we joke that Elyse is her second name.
I love that so much. And I love her name, by the way. Elyse is such an awesome name. So
they're both beautiful.
Yeah.
So my first question is always, are you currently fasting?
I actually am. I am about 17 and a half hours in, and it is 9:30 a.m. my time. So I'm breaking my fast around 12 o'clock today. So it'll be around 28 hours or so.
Okay, very cool. Do you have big plans for the eating window?
I always have big plans. It's usually a meat-based thing. So I'm really excited to having some, we have some sirloin steak. And I always have some sour cream. This is going to sound weird, but I always have some sour cream mixed with fish sauce, and I put it with the steak and I dip it, and it's like the best thing in the entire world. So yeah.
I can't say that I understand that sauce sounding good, but I'm a sauce person. So I love sauces. So I get looking forward to that.
Oh, yes, definitely. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I said to someone else on the podcast, I think sauce should be a love language because it would be mine. Sauces, dips, condiments.
Absolutely. Dry foods. No, you are not welcome in my mouth. Yeah. It has to be full experience here. Yeah.
Yeah. We're already besties. I can tell.
I know.
So a decade, that's an amazing run at fasting. I would love to hear like your evolution. Has it changed over a decade of fasting?
Well, the crazy part, and it is crazy, is that it actually I was doing more of an OMAD approach or like a longer window approach. I just kind of dove in. It was around the time that, and I don't know exactly when this book came out, but Brad Pilon, he has a book called Eat, Stop, Eat. And that was one of the first fasting books I think I've ever seen. And I was like, oh, wait, I sort of do this naturally. Like, I finish eating quite early at night. So I sort of gained it a little bit and did, a 24-hour fast here and there, because that's kind of what he said, like doing 24-hour fast. And then I don't really remember the book, but I used that same book, unfortunately, as a bit of an abuse. And the reason was, so I don't know if this will resonate to any of your viewers, but probably a lot, actually. Women who get married tend to want to be really thin. And that was unfortunately my downfall. I was at a perfectly healthy weight, but in 2012, I was doing fasting totally normally, by the way, before then. And then I thought, you know what? I have about a month. I could drop a whole bunch of weight for this dress. So it's going to be in Mexico. I wanted to look great. And I wish I would have had somebody pull me aside and go, you know what? That's going to be like 10 years of a binge eating disorder if you do this right now. But nobody knew what I was doing. I was just getting skinnier and skinnier. And so I was eating about one meal every 2 days, sometimes 3 days. Jen talks about doing like a proper up day, and I had no idea. So let's put it this way. I dropped all the weight. I looked great on my wedding pictures I think it was November 2012. And then just when we cut the cake, I was like, it was chocolate. I was like, I'm going to have this whole cake. Like, I'm going to have whatever anybody else does not have of this cake. And I got stupid drunk because I was quite hungry. And I ate so much food, and it just continued. It was really scary. I'm such a foodie, and we went to this place in Mexico with like amazing food. And I ate so many pastries, waffles, and like my brain was just like, eat, like you were like, I wanted to replenish what I had done.
It's like you hit that objective and then the floodgates opened.
Right? I look good. Okay, so now I can eat. And in my brain, it was just like, well, you still look good and you deserve this. Like you spent about a month practically not eating. So yeah, it was a perfect storm. And long story short, I spent the next 10 years learning how to actually adequately eat and then still trying to extinguish this binging habit which was just now part of my brain. And so I had to do, it was very humbling.
Yeah.
I put a bit of weight on, and I was very, my mental health issues got a lot, like I've always had some mental health stuff, and it got a lot worse. But long story short, and this is a thing, I now today can say that I've done the work to extinguish the habit, even though it's still there. I can override it. And now I have to do what I call, and I've never seen this anywhere, but I do what I call, sorry, the word is intuitive fasting. I do intuitive fasting. So if I'm feeling, because my brain is still very sensitive to fasting. So if I'm feeling particularly cool, I can fast for a little bit longer. But if I have a day where I'm just a little bit more hungry, it actually drives a bit of that old brain, that comes back. So I have to eat, I have to have a longer window. So right now, currently, I do about 16 hours, sometimes 18. And today I'm doing 20, but that's not normal. Usually I do like 16 or 18. Yeah. And then I'll even call it a win if I can do 13 hours. If I have a day where it's like before my period, and it's like a no-go and I'm feeling anxious, I have to eat. And so my window just kind of goes, it's kind of interesting because I never have a particular schedule. I just kind of see where I feel. Yeah.
I think the intuitive part is probably wonderful for your mental health. I'm curious, do you track like with a fasting app tracker? You do?
Big
I didn't
time.
know if that would be hard or not. Okay.
Actually, it's much easier. Well, it's weird. Sometimes it's harder because I can be hard on myself and say, no, it's not, say I planned 18 hours and I go, like I can get upset. But if I don't, and it's just so mine is called, the one I use is called Fasting Tracker. It's a red icon and it's a really good one, but you can set the time if you want to, but you can also do a custom. So basically you just press the button and let it go. And I actually find that, especially for my kind of anxious brain, it's actually easier for me just to press the button and let it go and kind of see where I fall. And then I don't feel bad,
That's awesome. I use the Zero app, and I don't have a hard time now, but at the beginning, it was hard for me to not hit that 18-hour objective because it was like, oh, it's still showing me and then it turns gray. And so I could see that if you've had issues that might be a difficult thing to track. But I really like I'm either fasting or I'm not. And then the more I fast, the easier it is for me to adapt. You mentioned, PMSing before the period, social events. It is really great to have that flexibility of, well, it's not going to be an 18-hour day today, and that's fine.
Yes, exactly. And it's still fine. And it's not a diet, and you don't have to be perfect at it. And I'm still trying to tell myself that because I do have this sort of perfectionistic, thing in me that's kind of a little devil there. So it's like, hey, it's okay. 16 is still good. Even 13, you're still getting some benefits. Go maybe try a bit more tomorrow. No big deal.
Yeah, I love that. So how did you, after your honeymoon and the binging, how did you rectify? Is that what got you into the mental health space? Was your journey?
Yeah, because the thing is, Jackie, I never want anybody to go through what I went through. It was actually it was really depressed. Like I was very depressed. I couldn't, it was a really bad situation, and I couldn't get out of bed some days. It brought down my mental health. The stuff that I would eat when I would binge was terrible. Like it was like bakery cakes and, wine. I get binge on wine, drinking too. It was just not a good situation for me. So I spent a long, long time thinking to myself, if I ever get out of this, I'm going to help other people. Because I know there are a lot of people in the world that are like really suffering. And I would say probably, especially today in this world, there's a lot of, eating disorder or disorder eating type behaviors because of, a lot of stress and mental stuff. So anyway, the point is I have a really strong passion, and I've tried to make that go away because I'm rather shy and nervous, but I can't because it's just what I have to do. So I'm actually kind of glad I made peace with it, and I'm like going forward and I'm like doing this for people.
I think content creation kind of can be great for the shy people because you can do it over and over again. You can do it in the comfort of your own home, and then you can share it without having to do like the face-to-face.
I know, actually, that's a huge bonus too, because as I get comfortable behind the camera, I notice that when I speak to people, it's almost like I feel like I'm not that I'm, an actor, but
Yeah.
I feel comfortable around people looking at me now more so. So that's it.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. This video is sponsored by Element. I've been working with Element for over a year, and I love to use the raw, unflavored electrolytes in my fasting window, or my preference is to have their delicious flavors within my eating window. My personal absolute favorite is the watermelon. Even though I love them, I want to give you peace of mind. Did you know that if you order, Element offers a no questions asked refund policy where if you don't love their product, they will send you your money back and you don't even have to send the electrolyte packs back to them. You can give them to a salty friend. That not only shows that they're a wonderful company, which I know from working with them, but they also have a lot of belief that their product is what you need as well. Right now, Element is offering my listeners a free sample pack with any order. That's 8 single-serve packets free with any Element order. This is a great way to try all 8 flavors or share Element with a salty friend. Get yours at drinkelement.com/fastingfoodie. This deal is available only through my link. You must go to drinkLMNT.com/fastingfoodie. Thank you so much to Element for sponsoring this video. So when you share mental health content, do you weave in fasting with it, or what do you share? I'd love to hear that. I know it's a bit of a tangent, but
No, it's awesome. So basically right now, nothing to do with fasting and nothing to do with any kind of thing that I'm eating, any food stuff. It's just right now, because I'm really new, actually, I'm a really small channel. So I'm really just focusing on just more mindset and being okay with anxiety and like helping, because anxiety, ADHD, depression, or certain patterns, like I would say for the sensitive person. So for the person who feels a lot more than the average person, developmental trauma, because I've been through that, stuff like that. And then I actually do want to have just a few videos about like food and fasting and how it can be healthy and how it's really mindset that makes it an eating disorder, right? Like you can use anything as an eating disorder. So that's why I don't agree when somebody says, well, fasting is an eating disorder. Well, it is not.
yeah.
But anyways, that was a tangent.
No, I'm good with it. I do get a lot of comments of, especially videos that hit a little bit more of the viral, so they reach the non-fasting audience. Oh, she has an eating disorder. And I think my eating was so much more disordered pre-fasting. And I 100%, you've said it, you can approach fasting and have it be disordered, but there are ways to approach it. And it's all about your mindset. I feel so much more free in a fasted state or a fasting and eating window because I don't have the diet restrictions. Did you ever have a diet history before? You mentioned you were at a previous.
I could probably tell you, like it's embarrassing probably, but I'm probably not alone to say that I could tell you I bought most of the diet books or I know most of the diet books out there. I think like my whole life since I was, the tender age of 13, I'm just so young to diet. But
I know. I have a 13-year-old. It kills me. It really does.
I know. I feel that for you. I do, because we got to protect girls. But anyway, I did so many diets, Jackie, and like, dieting for me, it some people can do it, Weight Watchers, Atkins, keto. If it's anything to do with a weight loss strategy, it'll never stick.
Right.
That's why the word die isn't diet, because you just feel like you're dying.
I've never heard that. That's so true, though. That is so true.
Yeah.
I feel like everything, even you approach fasting, dieting, and everything that you do is punitive to meet the goal.
Yes.
I can't eat this because I have to hit this goal. I have to work out so that I can lose weight. And the mindset of it goes away with fasting because I can make the choice to fast, and I've found so many more benefits than just the weight loss that I feel so empowered. It's like, oh, well, I don't have to work out to lose weight. I don't have to work out to meet this objective, but I know that I feel better. So I'm going to go on a walk today. And it's just amazing how there's a difference in those two approaches, and it's all mindset. I don't know if you heard my dad's episode, but that's his biggest thing is he's like, everyone needs to understand it's so much more about mindset than it is even just your food choices. And if you can get over those hurdles, it can really be a powerful tool.
I loved your dad's episode. I listened to that a few times because I just found his just wow. He just spoke to so many parts of me, and I just found it really inspirational. Your dad's really inspirational too. So yeah. And I wanted to say that you're absolutely right. Like it is absolutely mindset, and what fasting does for me and how it's freeing for me, even despite all the past history with
Yeah.
fasting, coming back to it was only because I knew that I feel so good. Like I get this sense of well-being that I do not get any other way. So it's kind of addictive that way to feel that good and to sort of, if you have anxiety or if you're prone to anxiety or depression, to realize that these sort of like endorphins or whatever, like these things are happening to your brain. Anyway, I could go on, but there's just so many benefits to fasting. I mean, I couldn't see why you wouldn't want to do it. And especially because I'm in my sort of, I guess I'm going towards my mid 40s and I'm thinking, okay, well, you're climbing the ladder of menopause and, it's nice to get a kind of a head start on that too. So yeah.
Yeah. And I agree with it. I do feel like, it can almost have an addictive, like it feels so good to be fasting. Like I could keep doing this. And once you realize the power of like, I don't have to eat, it feels good to just have that power of like, I can fast, I can do well. But obviously it can go to extremes. And I think it's great that you're willing to share that, because I will never not have a proper up day. And I almost rest in like, oh, if there's a day of eating more than I normally would, I don't want to get into the not satisfying my body's needs after I do longer fasts. And I think it's great that you're willing to share that there are downfalls to not doing that. So thank you.
Yeah, and thank you actually, because I know there are other people out there that think that more is better. And that was absolutely me. I got into that trap. And when you have an event coming up, that's an emotional event, those things are just like can be the perfect storm. But what I really love, and you tell everybody to buy Jen's book, because it is so good, that the Feast, Fast, Repeat. What I could have used that book before so it would have prevented me from going down that road. But anyway, just moving forward, I just think it's good to kind of like, just treat fasting as this sort of amazing tool that could be abused. And so the fact that you take proper up days, I see in your videos, I want to just give you applause for that. That's really healthy. Yeah.
That's awesome. A lot of people, when they start fasting, they worry about the tendency to overeat. When you're learning to fast and then you get to your eating window, you almost have it's a mental and a physical, like, give it all to me. Do you have any tips that you would share with someone as they're learning to adapt to fasting?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. I would recommend to open your window with a really nice hot tea or a nice drink that you really like before you go to the eating part, because I still have the propensity to dive into the fridge and like standing up can grab something and I have to so having that ritual before you eat, like whether it's just like a handful of something or whatever, and then you kind of go, okay, I'm going to finish this in about 10 minutes. And then I'm going to calm myself down, because it's kind of like sometimes you do get like so excited, right? So I think a ritual like that is just really good. Just take a pause, take a breath, just enjoy this thing that you have right now, and then kind of get up and, be back online again, because you want to be online fully, your brain for the food. Yeah.
I think that's I like the having the ritual is a great tip. I love that. So you mentioned that you are a clean faster, but you don't drink coffee. So I would really be interested in what you have during your clean fast.
Well, I'm sure you wouldn't be jealous of this. I'm not, but I love coffee. It just doesn't love me back. So I've had to deal with green tea, or not deal with, but to have green tea is kind of a dealing with, because it's gross.
Yeah.
But it is very I feel the well-being through the green tea, because the green tea has that amino acid theanine, which I find, this is a little bit of a tangent, but if you ever do, or if anybody does have anxiety and they have trouble focusing and you drink coffee, theanine, which will not break your fast, it's really good to have with coffee, because it gives you that sort of focus, that relaxed feeling. Even then, for some reason, coffee is it aggravates me. And it's weird because I kind of feel people need to know coffee may not be right for you if you have
Yeah.
anxiety. If you had I get blood sugar swings and I get starving when an hour after. I just want to eat and I can't finish a fast properly. And just, I kind of get angry and I kind of get reactive. So green tea, because it already has the theanine and then the nice, like it's gross, but I drink it with ice. So for some reason it's not as gross with ice. So then I just get it down and I go about my day and I feel freaking amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I am not a hot tea drinker, but I love iced tea. So I'm with you. I understand iced tea in whatever variety is so much better to me than hot tea.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So do you think if it was different, if I said to you, Elyse, you're not allowed to drink coffee, do you think that would be a difference than you realizing it doesn't make you feel good, that your anxiety is up? Do you think you making the conscious choice from a standpoint of how you feel is different than a restriction?
Yes. There's an author called Gretchen Rubin, and she has a few books, but she talks about like the moderator, the rebel, like there's certain kind of,
I've heard those terms. Okay.
Yeah. So I would say I'm kind of a rebel. So if you tell me not to do something, I'm going to want to do it that much more. And even if it's not good for me, I just need to assert my autonomy. So I feel that way. I feel like I have a strong sense of autonomy. And the only way I could really let coffee go was for me to write down the reasons it doesn't serve me anymore and the things I want to accomplish in my life and how those go together. Otherwise, I would just sort of see it as, because sometimes coffee actually works well with my excitement and it can make me quite happy. So I had to kind of remind myself, actually, there's a downside, there's a dark side. And so because I was able to write that and really look at that and go, is this the life that I want to have going forward? It was really easy to drop it. But like, that's exactly the thing. If you tell me don't do something, I'm like, okay, when can I do it? Like,
I'm actually going to write. So her name's Gretchen Rubin. I've heard that before, but I would like to look into her books because I believe I'm probably a rebel as well. And you cannot tell me, Jackie, you can't have a donut every day without me feeling compelled to eat a donut. But fasting, because everything's allowed the way I approach it, I don't have that rebel instinct of watch me. I will do whatever Weight Watchers told me was too many points in a day. And as you say that, I'm like, I need to read that book because I think I'm probably I've heard it before, but I haven't read the book. And now I'm really interested because I would put money on that I'm a rebel.
I think the book is called The Four Tendencies, but I could be totally wrong about that. So it could be someone else's book. But I was actually going to say that is just so interesting. And what I really like about your videos, what I actually always liked about your videos was that you just eat what you want to eat. And that's any kind of food that you feel, and that you balance your diet and your food. And I really like that fact that you're like, you know what, I have a donut today. I got these donuts, but I'm just going to wait till this opens. And then when it shuts, I'm done. So you have this kind of healthy mindset that I looked at your videos and I was like, I can do that too. Like I can put something away for later. Like I can work on my discipline, which fasting does. It really helps discipline in every part of your life. I love it.
I think that is so true. Yes, that you're building, I always say the fasting muscle, but you're 100% right. You're building a discipline muscle and it's going to spill over into other areas. I love that. Great point.
Yes. Same.
So when you are in your eating window, can you talk about the foods that you prefer to have?
Yeah. So again, this isn't going to sound normal, but that's okay. I actually used to follow the carnivore diet for mental health reasons. And my husband actually started doing that because he had a lot of inflammation and a lot of injuries and he wanted to heal himself. And a carnivore diet is an elimination diet, basically. And so I did that for a few months. And even though I know how restrictive that sounds, by the way, it totally goes with mindset again. Like it actually was probably more freeing than anything I've ever done because I put my health reasons first. And so that sort of evolved, and I'm adding to not just meat and a little bit of dairy. I'm adding peanut butter. I'm adding blueberries. I'm adding some vegetables like broccoli back in now. And so I mostly just kind of eat those foods. And so a huge thing of meat, some fish sauce with sour cream, and sometimes some vegetables. And okay, and there's another really weird thing that they call carnivore crack. And it's
Okay.
basically, you basically brown butter, you brown it like on the stove for like a good
Mm-hmm.
long while, and then you pour it into a mold. I actually add some sweetener, which is more keto approved than carnivore. And I put that in the freezer in little bites. And if I ever feel like I want, like if I have a craving for anything, because I don't eat chocolate, I don't eat any sugar or anything, I'll have this thing. And it's like the best thing that I've ever eaten in my entire life.
Oh,
So
wow. So what is it? Carnivore crack?
Carnivore crack is kind of like, if I could say the name to like Google it,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I just call it freezer butter, which doesn't
Okay.
really sound like accurate either, but anyway.
And I love that you said, it's maybe not carnivore approved, but you're taking it what works for you and you're making it fit, and then it's going to be something that you really like, and I think that's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I just sort of, you know what? I just take the foods that I really like, I add them in, I see how I feel. And then this is just, I'm always evolving, Jackie. Like, I don't really know what I'm going to be doing in a year, but like right now, people ask me, oh, I actually had a vegan ask me, your diet is so restrictive. And I was thinking, I used to think that way about you.
Yeah.
But she's like, are you always going to do this? And I can honestly answer for right now, I can say that I will, but I don't really know. And I never want to be sort of boxed in. I really feel like one day at a time for everything. So yeah.
And I think it's funny because you mentioned the vegan seeming really restrictive. And I think of that when my daughter, who's vegetarian and she doesn't love a ton of foods. And I think it might seem really restrictive to me, but she's just making those choices because it doesn't sound good to her, like everything else. So it's not that it's actually restrictive, it's just her preference. So if sour cream fish sauce and steak sounds great to you, then it's not restrictive, it's amazing to you.
It's absolutely amazing. Oh, and I should add eggs, like adding some soft eggs on top and then just kind of like making the sauce go over the
Oh,
steak.
yummy.
So good. So good. I'm just thinking about it now. Like,
You can tell you're not feeling restricted.
I think it's weird. So when I go into a grocery store now, so it used to be I would just eat everything. Like I would have a variety of things, and so I always had this like panic in the grocery store. Like, what did I miss? Did I get the tomatoes? Did I get the? Am I getting all the meals for the week? And now it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
do I have the meat? Do I have the
Yeah.
dairy? That's so nice.
I'm very curious. Do you do any of the meat subscription boxes? This isn't an ad for anything at all. I've always wondered if carnivore based people do the subscriptions where you get the cut sent to you.
No, actually, being a carnivore is actually just so expensive. So we do is we actually just buy our meat at all our meat at Costco. We have a meat cutter. We buy a huge hunk of it and we just cut it all up.
Oh,
And my
wow.
husband barbecues it every day. It's super simple. So like nothing mailed to us. I just go get a lot of my bulk of my stuff at Costco. And actually really do want to go more local. Like I think in the future I'll be looking at like for a local butcher and things like that. But for now, that's kind of what we do. And it's really simple. And we're just like, okay,
Oh.
it's time to go to Costco. All right.
And when you said barbecue, you made it sound 10 times better. Barbecued meat.
Always barbecued.
Do you do like all the steam or not steamed, smoked and different barbecue variations, or
You know
get
what?
real fancy with it?
I'm actually going to be fancy with it. I'm actually going to go ahead and buy a smoker. But for now, we just have a
Woo-hoo.
barbecue and an air fryer. And let me just tell you, if you cut off some of those fatty parts of the steak and put those in the air fryer, oh, it is to die for. The crispy
Yum.
fat.
That sounds so good. It's funny when my husband and I met, he would make steak, and this is gonna sound criminal to you, but he cuts off all the fat before he cooks it. And
No.
and I'm like, I couldn't believe it because I grew up and we would fight over the fat pieces. Like we would all want to eat it. And he's like, you eat those? And I just couldn't imagine that people wouldn't eat them. So I'm like, oh, I'll eat your fat for you.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. In fact, my husband's plate too. I would always grab if he had left any fat on his plate. I'd be like, "This one on the floor? No, okay, it's going in my mouth." Like I'm eating this piece of fat. Like it is. We actually went to the butcher once and we got just fat. And he goes, "What are you doing with this? Are you like making sausages?" I said, "No, I'm just gonna put it in my air fryer and eat it." And he's like, "Okay, well, different strokes for different folks."
Yeah, that's funny. You would think a butcher would hear it all at that point.
No, I'm actually kind of impressed. I kind of threw him for one there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Air fried fat. I'll have to try it. That does sound pretty good to me, to be honest. When I was pregnant with my son And I know people say it has something to do with my iron, but I've always had really great iron levels. I wanted to eat raw meat, raw red meat. Just looks so good to me. And I still have every once in a while, he's 6.5 now. I want to eat raw red meat and I don't know what it is, but I've never tried that, but I would try air fried fat. So,
oh, you will love it. And it's funny. I just will tell you a little tidbit too, that I ignored my cravings for red meat because of, I would read all this stuff about red meat and how bad it is. I'm not going to get into that aspect of it and everything like that. But I've learned that my body really needs red meat. And so when I don't have red meat, sometimes I'll have like chicken or a fish. If there's something missing and my brain knows it. And fun fact, sardines have the best apparently nutrients to your brain. That's like you're going for like a tinned sardines, believe it or not. Anyway, that was just another fact I want to throw.
I love facts. That's awesome. So does your husband fast with you? If he has a similar diet, does he do any of the fasting?
Really, really funny story about my husband. Not for weight loss reasons, but he totally went overboard with the fasting himself about a year ago. See, this is why we can't go overboard with the fasting. He would fast for long periods of time because he didn't want to be bothered by eating. And he plays competitive table tennis. He'd be playing for like 3 or 4 hours every day. And what happened when he wasn't eating properly was it would jack up his adrenaline, his cortisol. And then he had an issue anyway for a year. He became really sick because of that. So his hormones were all out of balance. So for him, he actually can't skip. He doesn't, or rather, I should say, he doesn't want to skip breakfast. He finds eating breakfast very, like, for him, very, what do you call it? Like a compassion thing, like, because he sort of went too far. And so he's sort of in the mode of breakfast is important. So I struggle a little bit when I want to do a bit longer fast and he's eating breakfast because he's got the barbecued steak. But so far, so good. I do my own thing and I respect him for doing what he's doing. And he's really healthy now. So yeah.
That's awesome. And it sounds like there's a really healthy support both ways for you guys.
Huge. Like he just wants to make sure that I'm happy or that I'm like doing things safely where I'm, he can tell. So he's totally just like do whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Now with your diet, do you have any favorite window openers or do you pretty much focus on your meals?
It's a good question. I usually slip into the freezer and have one of those little freezer butters that I make for starters. Yes. And that's a huge thing lately. That's why I mentioned the tea, because my brain still gets so excited. So I sit with the tea and then I have the butter and then I kind of go, okay, so I'm going to go towards the meat portion now. And it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes I just go straight for the meat, but mostly when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, that's actually a better way for me because I just need to sit down and really enjoy my food. Because I don't know if you are a fast eater, but I've been a fast eater my entire life and it kind of steals something from you. And I struggle with eating slowly. I really do. So
I do too. And I think it's almost like the joy of it. Like just got to get it in. I don't know. I've always been a fast eater and a volume eater, whether I was fasting or not.
Always volume. In fact, I would say, especially before carnivore, because you can't do that on, but I would have these huge, like almost to stretch out my stomach. Like it was almost too much. I'd have too much salad. I would have this huge salad bowl and I would eat the entire salad. And for me personally, it didn't work out for me. But bottom line is my stomach does really like to feel full. Really does.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. Yep. And I think that's what really pulled me to OMAD. And some people are like, I can't eat that much. And I'm like, then don't. What works for me, what works for Elyse is different than what it's going to be for the other or for a listener. So if you like to have the smaller meals and a longer eating window, everyone has to find what works best for them.
Absolutely. Amen.
So do you have any, I know you've been at this journey for quite a while, but do you have any negative naysayers on your fasting lifestyle? I would think maybe even the food choices.
Yeah, I know. That is actually something that I was always worried about, especially with my family who doesn't live here. But no one is really like when I tell them why, I think that's really what it is. So I think if you tell somebody like, this works for me and you just leave it at this works for me and as long as that's the other thing is like when you just said like, basically, and your channel is all about like, do what works for you, like eat what works for you. And when people see you doing something that you don't preach to anybody else, because it's for you, I feel like judgment only attracts judgment. And I feel like if you're really secure in your choices and you're like, nope, this is self-love for me. This the way I'm eating feels good. That fasting feels good. Then no. And so basically to answer your question, nobody has actually given me, any flack about it. And I guess for the most part too, I mostly sort of socially eat by myself anyways. And if it's something that's coming up, I usually can prepare for it anyway. So I'm not fasting during a social thing, but the food thing, I do get people going like, are you sure? Or are you okay? And then I'm like, yes. And also yes, but thank you for your concern, because people just come with concern, I think. And their own past experiences or their choices also reflect, I think, how they talk to you. And maybe your like people maybe who know me know that I maybe wasn't on such a healthy path a while. So they may be checking, are you okay? And I'm like, yep, it's cool. And so I feel like people leave you alone for the most part. They just we just don't think of other people as much as we kind of think about ourselves and our own choices, which
that is so true. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. People don't notice you as much as you think they may.
No. And that's a really good thing, right? Yes.
It really is. Yep. I remember hearing that a long time ago. Like, you think of yourself a lot more than anyone else does. And
Absolutely.
that's a good thing.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay. So I'm going to move into my absolute favorite part, the fast food round.
Yay.
And these are getting to know you questions, and answers always surprise me. So,
all right.
What is your absolute favorite drink?
Actually, 1 second, I wrote that down. This is, it's called matcha tea.
Oh yeah.
And the reason I like matcha is because first of all, I'm sober. I don't drink alcohol. It gets me drunk. Okay. It gets me tea drunk. I learned tea drunk as a thing.
Funny. Okay. So I've never heard of that.
Yeah. It's like powerful benefits where I feel just, I don't know, very high vibration, attracted to everything, love life, feel like it's just something about matcha. And it can be made into a drink. I may be cheating when I say this, but a lot of times I'll have it in my fasting window in yogurt with some sweetener. Okay. So
very cool.
To answer, another drink that I love though is, the bubbly drinks?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Big bubble fan.
Oh yeah. The pineapple one. Heaven.
Oh yeah. Like a pineapple, like bubbly water?
Yeah.
Or, oh yummy.
Yeah. Pineapple flavored bubbly water. Yeah. So good. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever had a pineapple one, but I think Aldi sells it. So I'll have to look for it.
Okay. You always mention Aldi. I wish we had one here, but we do not. So I live vicariously through you.
I'm sorry. I always do feel bad when someone doesn't have Aldi, because I'm a big Aldi fan.
Yeah.
What is your absolute favorite food?
My absolute favorite food would have to be ribeye steak. And when he does it on the barbecue, and then I cut into pieces and I put them in the air fryer on high for 2 minutes. Oh my goodness. It's like, I'm like a puddle. I don't remember anything. Ribeye,
it sounds so good. Yeah. I'm gonna have to put steak. I already have my meal plan set for the week, but I can almost guarantee you steak will be on next week's meal plan after our conversation.
Oh my goodness, it should be. Steak. Yes, and I was just gonna say your husband wouldn't like ribeye because it's so fatty, but you could probably take a lot of his steak. So
yeah, I'll just make what I want.
There you go. Amen.
Doesn't that sound like love? Just kidding.
It kind of does to me.
Yeah. What is the weirdest food combination you love?
Okay. I really like yogurt mixed with blueberries, mixed with peanut butter, mixed with scrambled eggs. I know. And like it has to be frozen blueberries. So like the scrambled eggs kind of like make the blueberries less cold. And then I'll add in like I'll snap in some freezer buttons. Like I'll cut them up. I'll put them all in. And then sometimes, Jackie, and this is when it gets gross, but I'm going to be honest on this podcast.
I want honesty. Give it to me.
I figured you would. Okay, are you ready? I put sometimes meat in it too. Like sometimes I'll put like rotisserie chicken and it tastes so good. And then I'll add a little bit of granular sweetener on top. And that's like a dessert for me. It's like salty sweet. Yeah.
I'll be honest, the chicken sounds about 10 times less gross than the eggs.
Okay. Good to know.
Just that one really threw me off, and maybe I was more prepared for the chicken, but I don't know. Okay, well, I'm glad you like it. That might take the cake on the best weirdest combination answer.
Yes.
Woohoo, you
I win.
win. And maybe does pineapple belong on pizza? I don't know if that's even relevant if you eat pizza anymore, but
I do not eat pizza. However, if I had to eat pizza, if somebody's forcing me to eat pizza, it would absolutely have to have bacon and pineapple on it. Otherwise,
okay,
I'm not interested. I'm just not.
Bestie status restored.
Woohoo!
What's a food that most people love that you dislike?
Pizza. I'm sorry. I really have never, I got the memo. I didn't understand why. And popcorn. Popcorn, I just find it's dry. I don't like it. And I tried making a lot of butter. And sometimes I'd be like, oh, this handful is okay, but it's mostly just dry. So yeah, pizza and popcorn. Big note for me. Yeah.
You'll leave the popcorn, just take the butter.
Amen. Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, and given the chance, what would be your perfect last meal if you could plan it? What would it be?
I prepared for this question because this is one of my favorite questions. So
I'm ready.
Ribeye, as I have discussed before, the way it is prepared, and so the thing that is different is I would have rhubarb pie and ice cream, and no one's allowed to tell me how much I can have of that. Like I'm having as much of the pie as I can handle because I love me some good rhubarb pie.
That sounds amazing.
I know. Just
last night, my husband made rhubarb coffee cake, and it was so good. With rhubarb from his parents' garden. I was like, "Thank you, Maddie."
He sounds amazing. Absolutely awesome. Yeah. Perfect.
He's good. And the funny thing is, if he wants something, it used to bother me in marriage because I'd be like, let me make it for you. But he wants to make it himself. He's kind of particular. So then he kind of like, it's almost like he craves the experience. And he would never say it that way. But like, if rhubarb coffee cake sounds good to him, he not only wants to eat it, but he wants to make it.
I think that's great. Yeah.
I like it now. Back when we were first married, it was almost like, why don't you ask me? But I'm over it. I don't need the work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it actually isn't it kind of a blessing in a way too, just to have somebody that going like, "Hey, what are you making for me?" But I can totally see both sides of it too, because I'm like, "Hey, what about my love gift?" Like food is kind of like considered a love gift, right?
So, and I am someone that like, bring me food. I will know you love me. If I give you food, you will know I love you. So it was definitely one of those, like, I just want to show you love. But like I said, that didn't last long. I got over it. And now I happily eat whatever he makes. So
yay.
Awesome. Well, I think that sounds like an awesome last meal. And that's my absolute favorite part. I love hearing all those answers. You never know what someone's going to throw at you. Like chicken, egg, and yogurt.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, is there anything that we didn't discuss that you want to share before we say goodbye?
I think I just want to reiterate that whomever's listening and struggling with fasting, I know that I needed to hear, and I know you've said this in your videos too, like, don't follow what I'm doing. But it's almost like we feel like in our brains, like, if I'm not doing what Jackie's doing, it's like, I'm not doing, these longer fasts, that, I'm a failure. And it's like, hey, you know what? This is a lifestyle. You have a lot of time. And like, why are you doing this? You're doing this to feel really good, not punish yourself. So whatever you can handle going forward, and you just take it increment by increment, and you would be surprised in your bird's eye view of your life, like your graph of all the stuff I'm finally working towards way longer fasts that I never thought I would ever work towards. So don't judge yourself so soon. Don't judge yourself at all if you can help it, but definitely give yourself some slack. And really, like, I would say, number one thing is just celebrate. Every time you can do any kind of fast is awesome. And like, just as long as you keep celebrating yourself, your brain will be more excited and want to do more things that are good.
I love it. That's awesome. And I appreciate those words. And I'm with you. We got to celebrate every step, not just hitting the end destination.
Totally. It's a journey, man. Always a journey.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to link to your, you have a website and a YouTube channel. Is that right?
I do.
We'll link to those below. And if you want to share a little bit about what people could find there.
Well, for my website, I'm a digital artist, so you'll just see my art there. What I create, landscapes mostly, some abstract things, just things that are near and dear to me. But also, my YouTube channel is like what I'm really excited about. Is just if you feel like you struggle with anxiety, or you maybe feel a bit sensitive about the world and how you just mental stuff, like all the stuff that I feel like we go through. I feel like I hopefully can be some support there
I love
for
it.
people who need it. Yeah.
And I like that YouTube, someone could get the support at 2 a.m. They could get the support at 4 a.m. They could get it, you're sleeping, and they can still hear encouragement from Elyse. And I think that YouTube really opens up borders and timelines. It just doesn't matter. So go get your support from Elyse at her channel. It'll be linked. I love it.
Yay. Yeah, no, and it's just a passion project for me. So thank you so much for having me. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. Yeah. I just want to say again, like, you're really inspiring, and I hope to make it to one of your live chats soon.
Oh yeah. That'd be awesome. Every Wednesday at 1:30. We'll see if it's still that way when this goes out. But awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Elyse. I've really enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you so much, Jackie.